Hi friends, happy Q&A Tuesday. I've gotten this question in several different forms and such similar words. I mean, really something. I sort of keep track and keep a log of the questions that come in to answer in Q&A Tuesday. And this one was worded in this particular way. Can I really have the kind of peace that you talked about? Let me see, with eating. It doesn't seem possible. But it even had this one aspect of it. Can I really have the kind of peace you talked about where eating is no more or less consuming than drinking water? I've kind of liked the get a drink of water metaphor because it seems like, at least to my mind, I haven't had that much on water. Do you know what I mean? Like, I know even water can come in as being a thing like, oh, we're supposed to have 8 glasses a day. And how much did I drink? Should I get the thing that's measured? And, it can just start to um, do little spinning and little looking and calculating and data gathering on even something like water. But for the most part, if we're thirsty and we just watch like an incoming, intaking, acquiring something, doing something, nourishing ourselves with something, whether eating or whatever it is, whatever our compulsion is, we do move to get water. Like, it just won't go on and on without ever ignoring the desire to drink forever, and there won't be a ton, at least this metaphor kind of works for me, with thoughts about water that sort of pile up in the past, or present when you're anticipating drinking, currently when you're underway, oh my gosh, maybe this is the wrong kind of water to have, and then after, should I have drinking that water or should I not have drank that water? Oh my gosh. So that's just doesn't even really exist so much. There's something loose and relaxed about it. And we do it nevertheless. And it seems required for life, right? But we're not scared. For the most part, in day-to-day life, we're not scared about the water, and we're not scared about the absence of water. So I will use that from time to time because it fits so well, in at least for me, with having an experience physically of the body giving a message, thirst, and that it doesn't come across as an emergency. It sort of builds slowly. And it's the exact same thing with hunger, or even certain needs that we have emotionally that have nothing to do with nourishment of the body. I mean, very interesting. There's like a tiny clue, a little drop of something there, and it may build, and we may be aware, and then we make note of it or ignore it or whatever it is that we're doing with it, like putting meaning on it. And, again, so back to with the water, we don't often think that we shouldn't have the water. It just seems like there's a more purity somehow or whatever. There's not lots of analysis or conflict or worry about the levels of water and what's happening there. So the message will come in and we'll make a note of it and we'll think, oh yeah. And there'll be something that says that's going to happen. This one is going to move towards some water. Good. And then as soon as the water is consumed and it's in the body, we know right when, oh, that's plenty. You get the feel of when that's just enough, and then you stop and you move on. And it seems like that's what we want with this consumption of something, like the doing that happens around getting getting, wanting, grabbing. So I want to smoke, I want to drink, I want to buy, I want to do, and it's got lots of with it that isn't the case when we are still moving down a path towards acquiring this thing called water. We're still moving naturally in a direction. Or like sleep. Sleep could be another really sort of more simple metaphor. Of course, some people have thoughts about sleeping and the worries about it. But if we're really getting tired, we'll just be moving towards bedtime and sleeping. And there's a little less. Sometimes, people seem to have a little more thinking around sleeping and if it's good or not, or good or bad and all that. But just to see that there is a body here and I'm the caretaker of it, and I'm responding to clues and messages and cues to, sustain life, sustain the biology. And somebody says, can that be possible with eating? And people will think, can that even be possible with this other, like, I have so much craving, this drug, or for buying stuff, or for taking this one story and biting down on it. That's a good pun intended. And looking and looking and looking at it and analyzing it. I've shared recently more in my Grace Notes news and blog that I write about having a transgender child, and how much that is, how much I've had thinking around that occurrence, out in the world and in culture and in society and in history and images, and what it means and what's going on in the greater world. And this is, how is this happening, and where, what's the intent here, and the intensity, just lots of thinking about it. And then the fear comes in, and then joy comes in, and excitement, and it'll rotate back to wondering and chewing and thinking on and being with, and then asking questions, and then researching. And I just notice the mind gets activated on this because it's uncertain. And there's a sense of, there's some pictures and images that look like danger and fear. And that can't be good, kind of those thoughts. And so, and when that happens, and if the fear grows, what I notice, so I'm locked onto a story, the mind is, and doesn't want to let go. It's like, this needs to be figured out. It's kind of the same as the craving, and the urge and the compulsion and the movement. It's almost like we're compulsively thinking about, what does compulsion mean? It's like, I can't control this thinking, this behavior, this way of seeing things. I can't manage it. It's doing what it's doing, and I don't like it. So people ask, is it really possible to find peace? So, what a question. It's such a great question. Can I really have that kind of peace? So here is the short answer. And it may kind of make your mind go, I don't know about that. You are at peace already with this thing. Whatever it is that you do too much of, and you get activated, and it's been a habit, and you've been repeating it, for maybe, sometimes people will say, for years. Whatever it is that you do, these are temporary surges. They're like storms in the process of being alive and being a human being. And there is something completely at rest already. So it's like me with my story about my kid. I don't know. I kind of have the idea that moms tend to worry about kids. It depends on what culture you're raised in, but unnecessarily. And I'm in there, like, caring about these beings in the world that supposedly are mine. And I look at them and want them to have happy lives, as well as other people. So if something looks like it's not happy, I'm kind of focused on it. I'm focused on it. And of course, we'll be focused on this. It looks like there's off-balance behavior. It looks like it creates lack of happiness. And we're wondering, like, what's wrong with me? What's going on? Why? I need to figure this out. And we'll assume lack of peace is the is the state of truth about this. I just love questioning that one. And it's not to dismiss or say, you don't really feel bad. That's ridiculous. You know, no, there's a lot of movement here. There's a lot of intense energy. There is a turmoil. There's a storm. Fear has presented itself. The mind is amazing. It's able to like collect all this information and data from the past, not very thoroughly, not very completely. It only remembers what it remembers, and it's got a lot of gaps in it. So let's just be honest about that. But then it predicts and projects what life is going to be like in the future based on this, incomplete data gathering from the past. But it'll do that quickly, like a computer, I suppose, and just be imagining, when we get activated and feeling frightened, at least when I do, it's because my thinking is frightened. I'm having fearful thoughts. And it doesn't mean while that's underway that it isn't going to pass and that there isn't sort of a baseline of a physical organism just being here, not, dying because of this way of thinking, not unable to tolerate it. I mean, toleration is sort of happening, or surviving it is happening. So what if this baseline of peace, what if there was sort of a foundation within that is extremely solid, way more than we ever think, than the mind ever thinks. Even my mind will be like, oh, I don't know if it is, in certain situations, just a core, solid base that is always present, like a life force, just a pulsing movement. I think of it like a machine going bzzz, because that's what it's like. Even if we're asleep, there's something that's very much alive within, and that is simply accepting that aspect of who we are is incredibly powerful and persistent for as long as we're alive, and perhaps beyond that, for all we know. It's not sort of singular and individual, and that it's just being here, the sense of being. So being that has thoughts activating in it, kind of like, where I am right now, it's kind of windy and rainy outside my windows. But we know that like this place and this sense of this city that I live in called Seattle is just right here, whether there's rain pounding on it or sleet or hail or wind. And sure, things will happen. Trees could fall over. It's not blowing that hard right now, but there's a base of this space and this time and this place and this orientation that is just very much, even though there's all this change that's happened, that's just here. And then the sun comes out. So there's all these differences, and the weather changes and the way it appears looks different. And then there's some things that are the same, and it's just here. So what if that was the same as with us? This peace that could be possible, that we think is missing within. What if we could question that? I mean, is it true that it's missing? And I know our minds will say, yes, it's true. Can you absolutely know it's true? And I love somebody's here from Spain. Hi. Can you absolutely know it's true? The peace is missing with my compulsive behavior, with eating, with smoking, drinking, screening, reaching, doing, buying, thinking. Peace is missing when all that's underway, all these things that we're calling compulsions. Can you absolutely know it's true? It's okay if you say yes. What happens when you believe it? It's missing. It's missing. I mean, I just know what I do is, oh my God, I mean, it'll be like, I got to find the answers, as if the mind is going, I have to find the answer. And then I just really need to calm down. And, oh, there might be something wrong with me. And here this is again. Oh my God, I know where this is going. And I'm just going to have to do the compulsive thing, because then I'll feel relief from the desire to do it, or whatever. All that stuff is happening. Who would you be without the story? Peace is actually missing. What if peace is only missing in the thoughts, or only missing because I say it is? Because I'm seeing it that way. As I'm looking through a pair of glasses, it's like going, wow, look at all this lack of peace. And it's just like got binoculars on lack of peace. What if peace is present? I mean, I know no matter how compulsive I've ever been, or how much my mind has just gone berserko with anxiety or whatever it is that I think is the problem of the moment, it always eventually calms down. I have gone to sleep again. I have moved about and done my life. I have, been nourished as needed. Like, I've survived. This organism has survived. And some baseline, I would say, even just sort of a holding of human consciousness has survived. Like a steady place of health has survived, has lived, is here. I mean, could that be true? Even if you're not so sure. I certainly didn't think that was the case in the past. But what if it was? What if this piece that I think is so missing is actually present right in this now moment here? So even if the mind is very, very busy and looks not so peaceful, I love how Pema Chodron says, I say it so many times, say it over and over again, it's kind of repetitive, but I love how she will mention, here's the weather, like this blowing and rain that I mentioned that's happening actually right now. I can hear rain up on the roof. I can hear the wind blowing the trees. I can see it sort of beyond, out the window of the room I'm in, my office. But above and beyond that, sort of back holding the whole thing, just somehow just the space that all of this lives inside of, is the sky, the atmosphere, consciousness itself, the kind of great mystery that seems unfathomable. What if that is just there all the time? Even when we're doing our thing and we're all in the, oh God, we're right in the compulsive thinking, behaving, feeling. I love the work, because if we are stressed, we can go, wow, I'm really grabbed by my thinking right now. I'm really thinking my feelings. My feelings have really taken over, and I'm putting meaning on them. And then I think I need relief. So I'm going to go do a compulsive behavior to get out of these feelings. And what if I relaxed and just let them have their life? I can see how within myself they just die down. They rev up and then they die down. They can't kind of like keep generating themselves. There's space. So if I kind of wait, or just relax, even though whatever it is happening has been happening. When I say things like, this has been going on for so often in my life, and this is going to keep going, and I've been suffering from this compulsive behavior for 45 years. Well, that's the mind talking and saying things that don't look very peaceful. And sure, acknowledge there's been there's a pattern here that seems to be, but it's not every 24/7. I mean, there's all these minutes and hours when there was no compulsive thing happening at all. There wasn't even thinking happening. There's been sleeping itself. So, I mean, just aware, deep breath, pausing, Who would I be without the story, this kind of peace that I hear about, or that the questioner was thinking I'm talking about? Can I really have it? What if the answer is yes? What if it's you've already got it? I love that this person was saying it just doesn't seem possible, and that's okay. It's totally okay that that's there. But is my thinking is because I've thought it, because I have thought it's not possible. Does that mean it's true? Peace is not available for me? I love that it could only happen in this moment here, like not next week or tomorrow. You just touch it right now. There's peace here. There's peace here in this moment, now. No future, like not even in 5 minutes, or not 20 minutes ago. Nothing, even if I have thoughts about whatever's going to happen next today. There's peace right now. There is peace here. And if it helps, one thing I love about the work is just step by step. Wow, maybe I can find some examples of how there's peace. Like my feet are on the floor. There's space in the room that I'm standing in. Even when I'm doing compulsive stuff, there's lots and lots of space around the items that are of form. It's a human being with an activated mind, and it settles down. You can just relax. Gravity is happening. I don't need to run the show. I don't need to force myself to do anything or even stop. I can just take a deep breath or even not. So ending this with a little quote from Katie, and this is from Byron Katie, A Mind at Home with Itself. When you sit in the state of contemplation, seeing what actually exists, excluding everything remembered and anticipated. Those are just images. The Buddha mind becomes apparent. You wake up as the unborn. If you really want peace, if you understand that self-inquiry goes beyond life and death, your practice will leave you on the other shore, which turns out not to be the other, but the only shore. Thoughts of a different shore were imagination. And when you realize this, you realize that you have always been on the shore that the Buddha points to. No raft necessary. It's okay if you don't see whatever is exactly being seen right there. I love a sense of wondering about it, just being open, compassionate to the self. Not even if I could see, but that something doesn't even need to try. This, without taking into account what's remembered or anticipated all the time, and just noticing those are images, and thinking what's here, even though thinking's happening. Don't even have to stop the thinking. It might be far more peaceful than we're imagining. Yeah. All right. So my thinking isn't at peace. My thinking is believing I can't have the kind of peace, and it's not possible. And in my thoughts, it looks like it's not possible. But it's possible. Not just possible, actually here. Just living, breathing, being. Peaceful. All right. Lots of love, everybody.